Hello and welcome to the Pokebattler.com Raid Advice tutorial. This is our new tool that is designed to help you figure out where you should spend your stardust and your rare candy to get the most out of your Pokemon. It's going to show us some really interesting breakpoints that really give you an idea of where you get the best bang for your buck, depending on which raid boss you want to defeat. Since Kyogre just came out, we're going to look at Kyogre, and we're going to look in the Salandro account, aka Ryan Barker, aka the founder of Pokebattler, because he's got a decent amount of stardust saved up and some rare candy, and he wants to maximize his Kyogre team. So first we're going to look at his regular raid results for Kyogre and see who his current best counters are. We see here, we're just going to do extreme weather because you never know what the weather's going to be. We've been in boring sunny Los Angeles. And we'll do unknown because you never know what moveset Kyogre's going to have. Now here we see he's got a Raikou, 2 Dragonite, Venusaur, Sceptile, and Executor, right? Pretty good team, he does pretty well. His estimator says 3.67 is a difficulty rating, and what we're going to look for is how to lower that number to give you an idea of how much more powerful his team becomes. So now we're going to switch over. So we're just going to go over here and make sure you're logged in because it's just going to look at your own Pokebox. And I've already entered what stardust and rare candy he has. He has 237,000 stardust, 71 candy. If it's just one particular type of Pokemon you want to look at powering up, you can enter how much candy you have just for that one. But for simplicity's sake, we want to use rare candy because obviously that applies to any Pokemon we want. Here. Let's push up here so we can see who his best guys currently are, and we can compare them to who his best guys are going to be. And you can see now that his difficulty rating went down to 3.42. Now that isn't accurate necessarily, because what it's going to tell you is how much power-ups you should spend on all of them, assuming you have enough of that candy and stardust for each one of them. But you're probably going to run out. You're not going to have enough to do every single one of these first 6 power-ups, right? You're only going to have enough for some of them. So that's not a particularly accurate number. To get a new accurate number, you have to actually power them up after you've spent your stardust and see where your estimator is at. So now we're going to look at who his new team is here, depending on how much stardust he spends on all of them, right? This is what the suggestions are. So the number 1 is the same Raikou, right? And then we have a new Raikou here who doesn't show up here till number 17. So he makes a big jump if you power him up. Then his Dragonites go way down to 7 and 8. Sceptile moves up to 3rd, and a Groudon appears, which he doesn't have a Groudon at all in his top 24 before he powers him up. So Groudon basically goes from useless to extremely useful, depending on how many power-ups you give him. Venusaur is similar. He goes from 4 to 5. Executor stays at number 6. Okay, so now let's look at each individual one to see just how many power-ups we need to spend on each of them to make a difference and make them more powerful, and which ones we should waste our stardust and candy on. So let's look at our first Raikou. Not a huge difference in him. He starts out at 31.31. It's telling us that we could get him up to 32.49, right? Now let's look at the graph here. What we're looking for is big leaps in the graph, which are breakpoints. That's where one power-up makes a really big difference when most of the power-ups are not making a big difference, right? And we don't really see that on here. We see a slight slope here. We see it's really flatlining, slight slope, no big differences, right? He's going to go up about 100 CP, a little bit over. You're going to be spending a lot of stardust, a lot of candy, most of our rare candy. His deaths only go down by 2. His time to win goes down not very much. His power only goes up less than 1%, so he's going to take away less than 1% more of Kyogre's health if you have him on your team after you've powered him up. So I would say that he's not worth powering up. If we don't have a ton of extra stardust, it looks like some of these other guys may be more useful to power up. So I would hold off on him, but that's just my advice. Now let's look at number 2. This Raikou, who moves way up on the list if we power him up. Now I don't think he's been powered up at all because he's only at 1840, 58, which I think is what Salandro caught him at. Now he's going to go from 96 time alive to 117, which is a big jump. He's going to go from time to win, it's going to go way down. He's going to reduce his deaths by like half almost. Power's going to go way up, like 4% overall goes way up, right? And here we start seeing these big leaps. These are the big breakpoints, right? So we can see a couple of jumps happening here. It's a nice slope, but this is a really big breakpoint right here. We have a nice slope here, a nice slope here. There's a couple of breakpoints, but the big one is right here. And if you look down, that's around at number between 11 and 12, right? He goes from 9.8% power to 10.6. Overall jumps by 10%. That's a pretty big jump. So to do that, we would know we need 39,000 stardust and 34 rare candy or Raikou candy to make that happen, which is not bad. That's a nice big jump. So it seemed worth it to spend about half of our candy, less than a quarter of our stardust, to make Raikou a pretty useful Pokemon. Whereas he starts out basically being useless right now, based on where he is. So let's look at number 3. The Sceptile, he jumps from number 5 position to number 3. Time alive goes up, time to win goes down, not a huge amount. Deaths go down by 7, not a huge amount. Power goes up a little over 1%. Overall goes up 14%, it's not bad. Here, we can definitely see that there's an increase. It's going from 186 all the way up to 200, but there aren't any obvious super big jumps. This is a decent slope here, this is a decent slope here. Flat lines really here. Then here's another little thing here. If we are going to do some power-ups, I would say I'd get him up to about 7 and then I would stop because this is just nothing. I mean, his overall doesn't go up at all. So these are just useless right here. I would hit him right around here. But I would just say overall, compared to that Raikou, he's not really worth powering up, right? He's a lot less efficient to power up. Now let's look at number 4. Remember, no Groudon in the top 24 at all. Goes from useless to useful here. Time to win goes way down, or way up, excuse me. Time to win goes way down. Overall time goes up. Deaths to win 78 to 55, it's a nice jump. Power goes way up here. We can go 7.8% to 11.2%. Overall goes up by like 50%, which is huge. And you can see he has some really strong breakpoints, right? Groudon is a great example of what breakpoints are, because here we can see some really strong slopes. Flat line, huge leap. Flat line, huge leap here, smaller leap here, excuse me. This right here is a huge leap. This is one power up. It goes from power up to number 12 to number 13. This huge jump, like 20% increase in overall. That is huge, right? So if you're gonna do him, you're gonna wanna get up to this between 12 and 11, or 12 and 13 power up here. You want to get and power them up 13 times. And to do that, you need 60,000 stardust and 52 rare candy. Or Groudon candy, and I happen to know that Talandra has 54 Groudon candy, so he knows exactly how to use that candy now if he wants to take down Kyogre better. Right? And get him up to 11.1% from 7.8%. So that is a really efficient use. And then after that, he just flatlines, right? Like, it's just not worth it after this. And here's where you start really spending a lot of candy and stardust, and these just aren't worth it. So that's such a really helpful way to see just where you should spend your stardust, right? It's really a great visual illustration of that. Number 5, Venusaur. Again, not a lot of huge leaps here, not a huge difference. His power goes up a little over 1%. He really flatlines around here, so if you were going to power him up, I'd probably stop around 5 or 6. He just really doesn't do anything. He's got a little bit of a breakpoint there, a little bit of a slope there. He's not making a huge difference here. So I would say he's not worth it, but if he is, if you are going to do it, you should stop right around 5 or 6, right? And now let's look at our number 6 guy, Executor. He's already pretty high, so he probably isn't going to make a huge difference either, but it'll be interesting to see. Now, we see he has a pretty decent slope up here in the beginning. These 2 power-ups make a big difference. They go from 183 overall to 192 overall. You can also, by the way, you can look at just power. You can look at time to win, which you want to go the opposite. Potions, which I don't think anyone ever looks at. Deaths, win percentage, which is useless in raid bosses, etc. Overall, we think is the best indicator. It takes multiple things into account. Time to win is the biggest thing it takes into account, but it's going to look at multiple different facets, and we think that is the best way to look at it. But you can do whatever you want. That's the power of Pokebattler. You have many different filter options. So for him, we would probably just do 2, if any. After that, it just starts being very efficient. And he also starts using a ton of candy because he's pretty high level here. So, if it were me, I would power up that second Raikou and my Groudon. That's how I would spend my Stardust and my candy. But everyone's different strokes for different folks, so that is why we make Pokebattler, to give you millions of different options. We give you information and you make the decisions, and this tool should help you make decisions about how to power up your guys. We hope this is a useful tool for you. We hope this tutorial has helped you understand it, and we really appreciate you being a fan of Pokebattler.com. Good luck on those Kyogre out there. He's a really strong Pokemon. Bye!